guys, I'm Emily C, and I am so excited you were led to Tyguenne's page. I would love to share my experience with you, just in case it's something that may help you make a decision at this point in your journey. I actually met Tyguenne in the spring of 2023 in Bali. We were both at a Kygo concert at the Savaya Club there, and I immediately was attracted to her aura and to her energy, to the point where I walked up to her and told her that. And at that point in time, I had no clue that she was a psychic medium and someone who really is the true definition of a light worker with so many spiritual gifts and modalities that she was looking to use to help people in this world. I found myself at really a crossroads and a big decision point in my life. And at that point in time, intuitively was led to Tyguenne, like many of you who are here may have also been. I decided to just kind of, pull the trigger and book a reading with Tyguenne, and immediately had an experience that was different than any other spiritual experience that I had had when I got on the call with her. I'm someone who has been through several spiritual awakenings prior to meeting Tyguenne, and had sought out services of mediums and Reiki healers and things of that nature. But I had never had an experience where I felt so comfortable from the get-go. So immediately when I got on the call with Tyguenne, it felt very natural. Things really just flowed. The energy really flowed in the call. And Tyguenne really set the precedent around how it is that she utilizes her gifts and what those gifts are, and what kind of information she would share for me and how that would, or share with me, and how that information would be shared. I will say Tyguenne is someone who is not going to sugarcoat things and tell you the things that you want to hear. She's going to tell you the things that you need to hear for where you're at in your journey. And she's also someone who clearly explains that while certain things may be divine in our story, we do have free will, and so we can make decisions at any point that put us on different timelines and therefore different paths in this life. I had some questions for Tyguenne at that point in time around my journey moving forward and geographically where she may see me located, as I was coming off of a stint of a couple of years of traveling. And Tyguenne very clearly laid out several different paths and timelines she saw for me based on decisions that I would make. And I found that very intriguing. I'd never had anyone tell me that before in a reading. If I asked a question, it was always a yes or no answer. Whereas what I've learned in my journey with Tyguenne and in my spiritual journey in general, normally the answers to any of our questions are yes and no. And that's something that you really learn to break down with Tyguenne. So at that point in time, she gave me these answers, and she also gave me insights into things that I had not shared with anyone in my life. And as someone who is an open book, for her to kind of call out fears and insecurities that I had never shared with anyone about decisions I was weighing for my future, was really impactful, and told me that, everything that she was sharing with me was genuine. I cannot begin to describe the changes in me from a year ago to now in my journey with Tyguenne. As I mentioned, I was someone who had already been through several spiritual awakenings in my life, but never any as profound and life-changing as this journey with Tyguenne. And I felt like in my spiritual journey up to that point that I had made a lot of progress on my own, but it wasn't until I started working with Tyguenne when I realized how invaluable having a spiritual mentor like her is. Some of the biggest changes that I've experienced that are really in alignment with the goals I had going into my journey with Tyguenne were recentering myself and my chakras and just in my own energy. I think one thing that I've learned in working with Tyguenne is that even though I've yet to be trained in Reiki, Reiki is something that I've been intuitively doing with myself and with those around me for years. And so I really learned a lot more about how that energy sits and moves in my body, and I've learned how to master the movement of energy through my body, specifically energy that gets stuck. I've learned a lot more, or many more techniques around how to clear that energy. In addition to that, I had a goal of learning how to channel my spirit guides more openly. Prior to meeting Tyguenne, I had built a relationship with one of my spirit guides, but didn't really understand how to openly channel them, and it was difficult for me to hear them unless I was in a dedicated time and space to do so. And now at this point in my life, after a year of working with Tyguenne, I openly channel multiple guides who I have personal relationships with throughout each day of my life. I've also learned that not all of our guides are angels or loved ones who have passed, but a lot of the times the guides that are speaking to us are different versions of ourselves. And so I've been able to connect with different versions of myself, specifically higher versions of myself, to learn from them, you know, things that they want this version of Emily to know and to live her best life, but to continue to ascend onto a higher timeline. Another thing that I've learned with Tyguenne, and I would say this is probably the biggest change I've had in my time with her, is a mindset shift around decisions that I make and the path that I'm on. I think prior to working with Tyguenne, I had this really strong belief that I could make decisions that were wrong and that would keep me from reaching my highest timeline. Whereas what I've learned in this journey with her is that while you can make decisions that put you onto different timelines, they're fluid, right? So while I may make a decision that puts me on a certain path, that doesn't mean that I won't reach my highest timeline, or it doesn't even mean that I'm not on the journey to it. And I think also when I make decisions that in the moment may not have been, when I reflect back, the best for me, I understand that it's not something I should carry shame around. I think you're always winning or learning. Sometimes it's both. And so I think Tyguenne's really taught me how to embrace every decision that I make in each point in my path, to really embrace my present moment and to not hold shame or guilt for anything that's happened in my life, but to understand this is all part of the experience. It's all part of actually learning and growing as a soul, but also just figuring out who you are and remembering who you are. And sometimes the longer, tougher path is the one that gets you there a little bit sooner. A little detour down to a lower timeline may actually quantum leap you to a higher version of yourself. It's all in how you harness that experience. So these are a few of the things that I've learned in my time with Tyguenne. One thing that I would really love for you guys to know, if you're listening to this and trying to figure out if Tyguenne is the right fit or not for you, is that Tyguenne is someone who has always made me feel at home in her presence and comfortable to share things that are going on inside of me, and then also things that are going on in my external world. She's someone who really helps you reframe your mindset to focus on your wins and not be hard on yourself for maybe things that you haven't quite accomplished yet. I think a really valuable lesson I've learned from Tyguenne, as someone who's always been a go-getter and an overachiever, is that sometimes taking a step back and doing less work and just letting yourself be present is actually the thing that you need to catapult you to, you know, whatever goal you're trying to achieve or to where you want to be. And so that's something that I think a lot of us, especially as women in today's world, and women who are in a corporate environment, as I know a lot of us who've come to Tyguenne are, and as Tyguenne has been in the past, it's something that we all struggle with. And so it's absolutely been an invaluable lesson. If you have any takeaways from this story and from my testimony with Tyguenne, I hope it's that you know she's someone who's genuine, that you can trust. And if you so feel led to explore something with Tyguenne, I 100% encourage you to jump in and do it. I'm a big believer to not pursue something unless you feel led to, but if you're here and you're still listening to this, I know that you have been. So do yourself a favor, pull the trigger with Tyguenne, give it a shot and see what it is that she can help you with on your journey, because I know it's going to be a beautiful experience, and she's someone who has a lot of light and wisdom to share on your path, and someone who can really quantum leap you and catapult you in your spiritual journey. So I wish you all the best on your journey. If you ever have any questions, Tyguenne knows where to find me. I'm happy to share more about my experience. And Tyguenne, I'm just sending you so much love. I'm so thankful I met you. I cannot imagine my life without you. Much love, guys.